The red light is on, and it's Tuesday, but I got something to say. After 14 years, 14 long years, the reign is finally over. No more pennies, no more nickels, no more dimes. Looks welcome to season two of the Wrestle Round Presents Championship Culture. I'm Brandon the Guy, and remember, every belt has a story. Before we dive into today's, topic, I just want to remind you of a couple quick things. Did you know that you can watch all of the Wrestle Round content anytime just by going to youtube.com/the Wrestle Round? This includes all 25 episodes of season one of Championship Culture and a bonus Christmas episode. Now, don't forget, you can follow us on all social media platforms, which includes Instagram, Thread, X, and Facebook, just by using at Wrestling Realm. And then, if you want to follow Championship Culture, it's Championship Culture underscore on Instagram. But don't forget, you can download all of our audio content at any time by going to Anchor, Stitcher, Podbeam, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. You can watch and subscribe to our Twitch channel just by going to at the Wrestling Realm. Now, and I know it still feels like we still thawing out from that cold WrestleMania, but there are plenty of sports events that are heating up, and there are plenty of concerts that are coming. So why don't you allow the brothers of the Wrestling Realm to save you a couple dollars? If you head over to SeatGeek.com and if you use the promo code Wrestling Realm, it will save you $20 off any purchase of $50 or more. Once again, just go to SeatGeek.com, or you can actually download the app as well. When you use time to check out, use the promo code Wrestling Realm, and it's going to save you $20 on any purchase of $50 or more. It's the least that the brothers can do to tell you thank you for watching us and engaging in all our conversations and our shenanigans. But, ladies and gentlemen, as you can tell, for season two, we've kind of had a lot of surprises happening already, right? But guess what? Those championship culture boys are always up to something. Always got a surprise. And this episode is no different. This time, what better person to help us break down a new belt day, a new era, new championships, new belt, than none the other. The man who always has notes. Da, 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 da. I'm talking about the realness, Dwayne Cody Allen. Come on in, sir, because we got a lot to get to today. Let's see it. Let's see what shenanigans he's up to already. Oh no, we can't hear you. You're muted. You're
There it
muted.
is.
Look at
I'm
you.
muted.
There
Sorry.
you go.
Like I said, it's always a different name every single time. But yes. Thank you, sir.
We're gonna
I
call
appreciate
you.
that introduction.
You see my little Dwayne? Da, 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 da. You know
No,
you
that
go
was
da, da,
smooth though.
da.
Yeah.
How are you, sir?
Not bad. I'm feeling good. How about yourself, sir? You good? Are you okay? No, because listen to me. I don't mean to interrupt you. Let me say this now. Because anytime you got a new belt drop, if anybody is always frazzled and razzled and riled up, it's the Belt King himself, Brandon the guy. So I want to make sure
Always.
first and foremost you are okay. Are you good?
So let me tell you what happened last night.
Okay, yes, sir.
I'm in the kitchen on a phone call, fixing dinner, and I started wrong, but then you stop because you're like, okay, I need to pay attention because Rhea Ripley's coming out. I'm like, oh man, she can't be. So then my phone starts going off, and it's like ding, ignored it, ding, ignored it, ding, ding, ding. I said, oh God, what's going on? And lo and behold, the realness starts saying belts, 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 belts. I was like, it's happening. Something's happening. So then I automatically texted, wait, I got to catch up. And of course, as I caught up, heart dropped a little. But that's why we're here today. I think it's fitting that, when we talk about every belt has a story, who better than the man that has notes to help us talk about these tag teams that are finally these tag team titles that we saw at WrestleMania be split different brands, right?
Yes.
Um, we've seen a death in a kind of like a separation of Raw and SmackDown, even to the point that the talent now are
Hmm.
clearly Raw tag teams and SmackDown tag teams. And it's crazy because one of the brothers actually said to me at WrestleMania, I don't think it's enough champions, but let me just remind people.
What?
Yeah, I mean, it's not enough title contenders. Let me say that,
Oh,
not
okay.
enough
I was about
tag
to say
teams.
this. Well, maybe he should watch AEW. They got plenty.
Yeah, they got plenty of titles to go around. But I will tell you this Raw has the Alpha Academy, the
Hmm.
Creed brothers,
Hmm.
Judgment Day. You can say
Hmm.
that twice because they can make up a tag team. They can make up two different tag teams if they really needed to. The Viking Raiders, I know that he's coming back from injury soon.
Hmm.
Imperium,
Hmm.
um, Indus
Hmm.
The New Day,
Hmm.
DIY slash DX, whatever they want to call that. So,
I was
and
about
of
to say
course,
you
you
mean DX. Oh, Archie.
know, DX 2024 edition. And then you
Ex-
also got the champions. So that's a healthy competition that we could see, some different matches, variation, especially
Mhm.
when it comes to tag teams. They don't always have traditional matches. They have ladder matches, six ways, fatal four way. You remember the one WrestleMania where we saw one member of each team fighting in a ladder match. So
Yes.
we've seen different variations. And with that group of talent just on Raw, I didn't even get to SmackDown where we have AOP that seemed like they sliding between NXT and SmackDown.
Need a little
Street
seasoning,
Profits.
brother.
Yeah, they did a little bit. They dipping and dabbling. AOP, Street
Mhm.
Profits, Angel Garza, and Humberto. LWO, that's like six teams right there.
Mhm.
So anybody can be interchanged. Pretty Deadly, the Good Brothers, your favorite.
Of course. You should have said them first.
New Catch Republic, and of course the current champion. A, excuse me, I'm sorry. A Town Down Under, right?
Yes, that is
So
correct.
is this before we get to these titles,
Yes.
knowing the status of these teams,
Mhm.
knowing their history, is this a good mix?
I think so. And let me give you why I think that honestly. Maybe I don't know, maybe a month out of WrestleMania. We were kind of talking about this on the flagship show about we were trying to figure out how we were, pitching ideas of how are they going to finally split these tags. Because of course, what did you want? You wanted new belts, and we were like, well, how do you separate the two? It's because over the course of us doing the show, we would always mention like you always noticed that they never called those championships like the undisputed tag team championships. They never called it that. So it's like clearly they would say the Raw and SmackDown tag team champions. It's like okay, so both belts and both brands were always represented. Just sometimes in this situation, they were held by one tag team. And we were like, they have to split these tag teams because they haven't just announced, they haven't called them the undisputed, whatever the case may be. And we
Well,
were
they did
thinking
it
about
that one
scenarios.
time. Remember when they
Mhm.
wanted to show a record? Oh, the Judgment Day is only two-time undisputed tag team champion.
Right. And it
They
was
said
like,
as a record thing.
and it was almost a play on words is because the only reason they were undisputed was because they were the champions of both brands, not because the titles were undisputed. You know what I'm saying? Like this is that play on words that they did because, when we saw WrestleMania, I didn't realize the nature of the match until I saw both sets of titles hanging, and I was like, oh, okay, so this is how they're going to split it up. So when you look at it up to that point, when we were getting to WrestleMania, we had been talking about like Triple H is rebuilding tag teams, right? Like we saw a
Hmm.
lot of random tag team matches that were like good matches, not just like fill-in matches, because tag team wrestling historically hasn't always been the biggest draw. Like I said, Eric Bischoff kind of broke down why tag team wrestling in the modern era wasn't valued or held in the same esteem as the way it was in the previous years, especially in the 80s, early 90s, and so on. So you notice like there was this blend of like there's a handful of veteran tag teams mixing up with these new tag teams, right? We saw the Creed brothers kind of getting hot and heavy with DIY. We started seeing Pretty Deadly kind of mix it up with the Viking Raiders and New Day, and I was like, okay, clearly they're trying to rebuild this space, and of course you got Tyler Bate coming up with Pete Dunne. I was like, okay, they're building these rosters for a reason. The Good Brothers are starting to become the Good Brothers again, even if they had a short time in like NXT, which I thought was going to be more of a permanent run, but it was kind of a pit stop because I'm like, you know what? They're just trying to get people's juices flowing again because now they're going to start really putting some serious equity into their tag division. So I think it's a good mix is because you got a handful of vets on both sides, but you also have a handful of either new tag teams or tag teams that the mainstream audience has not really been overly exposed to. So like DIY. When the last time has DIY been DIY? You know, such a long time ago, and then you have so many new faces on Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano because of the time period from when they were when they were hot to where they are now. So much has happened in between. So it's like, you know, it's a good blend of new and old. And I'm like, okay, usually when you start seeing new and old, you're gonna have older tag teams trying to help build these new tag teams, which just means you're trying to secure what you got going into the future. So
But I guess my other question for you is because sounds like it's a good mix. Sound like it's a good division right now. Do you see anybody with this mixture as a breakout team? And when I say a breakout team, the Creed brothers came on Raw and they came in hot. Then they kind of cooled down a little. You see these teams come out real hot, like Angel Garza and Umberto when they were first were paired. We were like, "Oh, this is cool," but then it kind of sizzled. Who do you think is going to be the breakout team? And we just going to stick to just Raw. Let's talk about Raw. Who's going to be the breakout team on Raw?
now, see, that's a complicated question. And of course, you ask the most complicated man in the world a very complicated question. Is because I think that answer is kind of twofold. And it goes back to
Okay.
what we just talked about. Like, think about it. Who's the breakout team on Raw? To me, officially, the breakout team is like the Creed brothers. They have their abilities and what they've been able to do has been on display like crazy every time they've been on Raw. Like, you know, you can clearly they're unpolished and they have a long way to go, but their future is very bright. You know what I mean? And it's like if you didn't know who they were before, you know who they are now. But it's like DIY is like kind of hitting the reset button as far as their brand is concerned. And I say their brand is because they have such a history that people don't know about. And of course, we know with Triple H running the show now, they're going to pull back to those stories and bring them into today, so that people can become refamiliar with what DIY has done in the past and why they're going to be the breakout. Like I wouldn't expect to see DIY be the number one contenders for the World Tag Team Champions. I expected them to win at WrestleMania, to be honest with you, but it makes sense when you see why Awesome Truth, you know, two vets needed that moment and what they're going to do to help elevate that division. And then I just see DIY right now carrying that torch, like just a pure blood chemistry, old school, new school mixed tag team is going to like make fans fall in love with what they do. And, you know, and then of course they're going to build stories and reasons for, you know, the average viewer to kind of get behind those guys. So yeah, I want to say DIY with an honorable mention to the Creed brothers.
And you know the crazy thing about the Creed brothers, every time I watch them, I don't like that word spots. They
Mhm.
do certain things in the ring, these spots that make you say, "Oh, oh," like even on Monday when they did the suplex and both of them wound up in the suplex pin. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, they was like, oh, they're gonna pin both teams at the same. I was like, that was neat. They always do something to make you pay attention to them.
And
And
that's
if you
the
look at what
thing.
the and look what
That's
the
not easy to do
prototype
for young
says,
tag teams. Mhm.
it's hard to catch the attention of the general audience and
Yeah.
even the wrestler fans to say, why do we want to see them? What makes me want to see them? Or what makes me want to go back and see what they're referencing on
Mhm.
commentary and go back to NXT? Because just like he said, I think the Creed brothers are going to be insane in the future.
I'm telling you,
So
their strength and athleticism is different. Like we've never seen displays of strength and athleticism at the same time before, right? We've
right, like
seen
we're
it with
seeing
like
beat and athleticism now too. We're seeing a lot of things that we only saw one of. You even did
Brock
this or
Lesnar,
that.
like Brock Lesnar, right? Like Kurt
Hmm.
Angle. There's one of those guys. And like now you see, like, wait a minute, there's two of them. And these guys are ridiculously strong, but they're also not just ridiculously strong. They're very athletic for strong guys. And you don't see
Hmm.
athletic strong guys too much unless it's either one in wrestling, pro wrestling, or professional football. So to see like a young tag team that catch people's eyes where it's like you're making me pay attention as if a cruiserweight was in front of me, but at the same time, I'm admired at your strength as if Cesaro was putting on one of his displays. You know what I mean?
And he also said, I'm very happy there's a renewed focus on the tag teams in WWE. This has been much needed for a long time from now. And I agree because tag team wrestling sometimes can make you pay attention more to that than some of your singles titles. And
Yeah.
I want to say, good evening, brother King. We see you
Hey,
in the
Dennis is in
chat.
the building.
This is there. Hello, brother. And not to forget about, our good friends over there at the four sides of the ring. I'm going to just go ahead and assume that that's Marcus this time. We're going to say, hey, Marcus, how are you? And of course, we know that the prototype has to remind us that it must be Tuesday. And then Craig with the compliment. We appreciate that. He said, keep up the good work on the show. Thank you, Craig. We really appreciate it. Craig had the joy of going with me and he to an independent wrestling match, and yep.
Enough said.
So, yep. Dennis said, "Glad we got new belts and got rid of them nickels. Now, nickels or dimes, don't worry, Dennis. I promise you, we're gonna get in there, and I want to hear your take because I know you a fan of every other tag team title design from NWA. You know, I'm gonna take a shot at you. We know that
Dennis is a classic guy.
he's a classic guy. He gonna say, "Man, that's a throwback to X, Y, and Z." And I do have a specific question for Dennis that I purposely I haven't called him or texted him because I'm asking him a question when we get to that, right? But he agrees. He said the Creed brothers are the future, and we clearly knew that. We clearly knew that. We could see that because they were always breaking up, they were always feuding, and that's why we had a lot of these makeshift tag teams that we could get into. But let's talk about these tag team champions, right?
Let's do it.
How did we get here? Right?
Very good
How
question.
did we for back in 2010, the penny tags were debuted, right? And a lot of people hated this design. I hated it, but when I just like it's something about a belt when you don't see it, you start to appreciate it. Because I really didn't like the spinner until it was gone, and I was like, it's actually not that bad.
Yeah, I enjoyed the spinner later in its run.
These were bad because they were too bold too fast.
Fair
That's
enough.
the only reason. They were too bold too fast. And one thing that always struck me about this was, all right, we're wrestlers. Why we got Greek and Spartans on here? I still didn't understand that. They're gladiators. They want to. That was just But needless to say, from the penny or the nickel or dime, which version did you prefer? And I'm gonna hold them up for the people to see because I know Dennis probably gonna say he hates both of them. But if I bet you if I had a U.S. tag up here, he would probably love it to death. Which one did you prefer?
The nickel and dime tag team champs was obviously a blatant upgrade to the pennies because and I think when you think about the association of copper or the association of bronze, you know what I mean? You think second and third fiddle. Like why do you have championships that are gold and silver and white gold, and then you have the bronze? It's like, wait a minute, it's almost like a negative connotation. When's the last time we seen bronze championships ever? You know what I mean? Or copper colored titles. And I think the same
I'm sorry, I'm laughing at Hollywood's comment because I read it in his voice. I'm sorry. Back to your
it's the same reason I didn't like the IWGP Intercontinental Champion, the original version of when that first came out, because it was the same type, almost shade of color. It was very copper looking, and I'm like, no, nobody wants a championship belt that's that dark and that shade of metal. So the silver with the different color straps was an obvious upgrade to the original pennies, as we call them, because it's just I think the colors pop more. Much more shiny, and it just had such a much more, I guess, a much more appealing outlook for champions to hold such a title as the nickel and dime tag team championships. And by the way, I am a disruptor of shows, so don't think I don't notice those Ring of Honor tag team titles behind you next to the World Ring of Honor Championship title that you have. Anyways, I'm going back to it. I have a question for you, sir. You can show it all you want because the viewers, that's what they come to see. But I am a disruptor, and I don't want you to think that I didn't notice because I see it.
So I'm gonna say this. Do you remember? And we're gonna stay on topic. Do you remember the segment when they introduced these?
Yes.
Was it not hilarious?
It was, though. It was. Now some people didn't like it. It's because they, the tag team purist, you know what I mean, felt some way about it. But it's all about entertainment.
When Sheamus and Cesaro, and Sheamus was like, "Oh, give me that one," because it was like a new shiny toy. That's what I felt like this was. And this was during the time where, let's call it what it is, WWE was making sure that it was brand affiliation. It was always being received without a shadow of a doubt. You knew this person was somebody for Raw. If you had a red strap or red somewhere on your belt, that was Raw, and the blue was on SmackDown.
Right.
That was my only gripe. And I love different color leathers. I love different color leathers
Mhm.
as long as it's making sense within the story. When you have two separate tag teams, I
Mhm.
wanted the style of what I believe we're going back to now, the World and WWE.
Okay.
If it was one set, if it was only going to be one, then one should have been red and one should have been blue to represent both brands. I'd have
Got
been
it.
okay with that, or half and
Okay.
half with the strap, or something different. Because when you have two sets,
Mhm.
I don't need it to be a red strap. I know this is the Raw. Like with the women's title, all they did was made the background red or blue, and I was like, that to me wasn't enough to distinguish.
Got
Like
it.
now,
S
Rhea feel like a big deal with the world title
Sure.
because she's a big deal, and then what you call it kind of plays second fiddle because they didn't really put her in the limelight. But if Bianca would have had the WWE Women's Championship, it would have been a big deal. But sometimes the look goes a long way.
It also goes back to a previous show that you guys did. What makes it more important? The champion that holds the title, or is it the title that makes the champion?
Hmm.
Question for you
So
though.
yes,
Like
sir.
I said, once again, I love to be disruptive, but I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
How would you have felt about those particular tag team championships if they had originally debuted with blackstrap and gold plating rather than the blackstrap with the copper and penny? Would that have affected the way you looked at the tag team champions, or how you felt about the overall design being a kind of a Greek, Roman, Spartan warrior looking championship, which is kind of vastly different from the other titles that we've had on the roster at that time?
So yes, if this would have been gold, I
Mhm.
probably wouldn't have not hated it so much because I always felt like it was a rusty title. On TV, it always looked like it didn't fit, and then it was like it didn't feel like it was championship material. It
Sure.
felt like
Yeah.
it was like almost like a toy. It felt like something that you would go down the aisle and it was a knockoff of a wrestling belt. It would
Yeah.
felt like it was
Dollar Tree
something
special.
that you yes, exactly. And it was like this is what you want to do to your champions, especially when we went from, and we're going to get to those other belts when we basically had two, and I know you got some opinions on it, two prestigious looking belts, but to this, and it felt like it was
I
like
mean, how prestigious are we talking?
we so it looks like we're reverting back to the names, right? What
Yes, we
does
are.
does the name really make a big difference?
I don't know how I feel about it necessarily.
Okay.
I always thought it felt kind of empty, right?
Hmm.
Even when Eric Bischoff debuted the former WCW World Championship as just the World Heavyweight Championship, it's like, well, what do you mean it's just the World Heavyweight Championship? And then of course they did the same thing with the tag titles. Um Honestly, I don't see a big deal about it being the World Tag Team Champs because once again, it's something that we've already had before. We're familiar with it, so it's not a big deal. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, we've done this before, and clearly it's something that Triple H liked. So we're going back to it because Triple H and them could have just done something completely different. Like, okay, new era, let's do something different. But I think he kind of liked the idea, like, hey, this was working. Instead of giving everybody, like you said, the same design, just change the colors on the backgrounds, red, blue, white, or black strap, you know. And a lot of fans felt like it was lazy.
Hmm.
So I'm not against it. I think it makes sense. I wasn't expecting it because I didn't know what they were going to do. I didn't know if they're going to be to the Raw Tag Team Champions because I never liked that. Just because it's like your brand should, like, I know what show you're on. Now you make it seem like you're only the champions of one brand. It's like, no,
Of one show. That's
yeah,
it.
like, no, I'm the
Like
world heavyweight I'm the world tag team champions of WWE. They are the WWE tag team champions of WWE. You know what I mean?
kind of
So it's
like
not
I'm the
like
Intercontinental, you're the US, and you're the North
exactly
American. You
like
are
like,
the yeah.
imagine if we had a Raw Intercontinental Champion and a SmackDown Intercontinental Champion. It would try to cheapen the championship and its lineage. You'd be like, that's kind of lazy, man. Come on.
And
So mhm,
another thing that felt lazy when this red strap Nickel and Penny came, there was a lot more makeshift tag teams because there was no depth to it. And I'm gonna throw this tidbit out to you.
mhm.
Seth Rollins had a lot of tag team partners. Let me see how many you remember. Seth
Oh boy,
Rollins and Jason Jordan.
don't even remember that one.
Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman.
Nope, don't even remember that one. Nope.
Of course, you remember Seth and Dean. Do you
Yeah, of course.
remember?
Yeah,
Now he was probably going to pop in the screen. Dolph Ziggler and Drew.
of course. Because that's when Drew debuted. The Sicilian Psychopath popped up.
And one of
I
my
mean, not
favorites that
what I say.
most people
I
don't,
meant Irish.
the Scottish psychopath.
Scottish like that was a Tommaso Ciampa. I know what I'm talking about, everybody. I'm not a noob.
And
I had
what
to
about
clarify that.
and Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt?
Do you see? Yes, I do remember Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt. That was they were
Okay.
trying to revive. Do you see Brother Hugh in the backstage with the Dolph Ziggler signed autograph photo of the? Yeah, there it is, everybody. He's here to show the world. He's here to show the world. Come on, bring it on.
So
Yes.
I gotta address some of these comments because first off, if you didn't see it,
Somebody said Braun and
um,
Nicholas. Stop.
but
That was so
then he
dumb. I was
followed it
pissed.
up, and of course, brother Drew, Willywood, please change your name to
Wood.
Willywood.
D Willie.
He laughed at that, but then we're gonna get to these. I promise you, Hollywood, we're gonna get there, right? And then of course, was he
Hollywood.
said Hollywood has spoken. But never failed me. I knew he was gonna go there. The NWA
Oh
World and
boy.
US belts were levels above those coins. So I would agree with you, only because they were pennies and nickels. I mean, well, nickels and dimes, whichever one you want to call it. Red is my favorite color. So the Raw titles were my favorite. The SmackDown were cool too. The silver
I
was a
felt the same
good
way.
upgrade from the pennies. Yes, the silver was a great
Yeah.
upgrade, but it kind of lost its luster. So they were like, oh, we got new champs. I was like, they're just gonna make the strap a different color. Like even when they did the Universal title, I was looking for something else. Drew, I think the world realizes that the pennies are gone. Thank God.
Yes.
We will have the mega powers in the comments. Yes, how we get Hollywood and Willywood in the same? That's got to be a
Do the
paradox.
handshake. Do the handshake.
Yeah. And of course, Drew goes all the way in. I wish Drew could cut a promo. If you
Oh,
haven't had a chance to
listen.
check out Sotoba Media, his storytelling and his promos are level above most people. That's all I'm gonna say about that.
Because the struggle is too real to be awesome.
That's what you were talking about, the Braun and Nicholas, another tag team. And it's crazy when we talk about these makeshifts. And please continue to put everything in the comments because I know I forgot some of these makeshifts, but I just want to say some of them, the established teams didn't have long runs, like the Viking Raiders, the Revival, Hawkins and Ryder, the Good Brothers. I know you were saying when they had a small run,
Oh, I
even the
was pissed.
Usos. It was like I don't want to say hot potato, but it wasn't enough to establish dominance, right?
Well,
And thank God.
it depends.
Okay.
Well, like, the Usos eventually, you know what I mean? What kind of
Eventually with
carry?
the SmackDown, and then they got the wrong ones.
Yeah. And
Because Randy Orton
there's,
and RKO.
there's an asterisk next to that, obviously, because of bloodline reasons, but
Go ahead and acknowledge him, Hugh in the background. That's all I'm gonna say about that. But thank
he
God the
did it
days
too.
of swapping the titles are gone, right?
Yeah.
We ain't gotta worry about oh look, I got drafted to Raw, you got drafted to SmackDown because with that name, now we can just move them, right?
There you go. You don't need an explanation like they did with Charlotte and Becky Lynch. Like, okay, well, gotta switch title now. You guys trade. No, well, I like the way my belt smells. I gotta hand it over. Now my belt smells like Charlotte. Well, you guys gotta trade now. I was like, okay. But
So
of
this
course,
is
with the name change, it does make sense.
and because if they having to move them to SmackDown, they can still be the World Tag Team Champions. If they
Exactly.
move to SmackDown once to Raw, they'll probably still be the WWE Tag Team Champion.
Mhm.
But this is the time, and I want to hear people's comment about the belts because I'm gonna pose some questions after we discuss this belt, right?
Show the belt. Show
So,
the belt. Show
um,
the belt.
Hugh has, of course, been Hugh, and he's made us some graphics. So, what I want the world to see is let's take a look at this belt, and then I'm gonna ask the realness. I'm sorry, Dwayne Raheem Allen. I'm gonna ask him some
Wow, this
questions.
is a different one. First it was Cody, now it's Raheem. Great.
Yeah, gonna ask him some questions about it because every belt has a story, but we're gonna get to that. But let me ask you this, brother realness. When
Yes,
you
sir.
saw this belt that's going to be coming on the screen, and everybody in the comment, please let me know your
Look at it.
initial thoughts on this. That was Dwayne's initial thought, right?
Yeah, it was. I was shocked. It's first of all, it's absolutely beautiful.
Uh-huh.
It's very unique in its pattern after the world heavyweight titles, men's and women's. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. That's nice. It's creative. It's fresh. It's new. Modern take on a classic look. I was like, oh, this is beautiful. And I wasn't expecting it to kind of mirror the world heavyweight championship. It's because when we had the original world heavyweight championship, the big gold, the tag titles weren't necessarily modeled after that championship, but they were kind of this own entity. But
Mm-hmm.
you see these beauties, and you're like, yo, this is clearly modeled after the new World Heavyweight Championship. So I was like, that was the first thing that caught my eye, and it was just uh, I like how they kept the belts round, like they kept the
Mm-hmm.
same circular look, but they did all the detail on the inside. So two things in my mind. I say one, they're trying to kill resellers, and people that try to do this on their own because of the way they do it. Now it's like they're not even designing the belts in a traditional format anymore. It's not just a plate with etching on it. There's so much more to it. You know what I mean? And man, I don't know. It's just I'm flabbergasted. I'm so impressed with what they did. I like the size of it, of course. I like the
Have you
just
seen the
the
videos with archery for them? They they just it's just working for them. Like
yeah,
it's
because
like who
immediately
better
they
to
were on
have it?
TikTok. Literally like
Yeah.
minutes, 20 minutes after their segment of Raw, they were on TikTok, and I was like, they're making us hot again.
They
So
said, and who better to get it out there than the two people that have social media influences
big time.
and a social media presence?
Yeah.
Uh, And I couldn't believe that they debuted them with side plates because
Really? Why
Triple
is that?
H because Triple H started the side plates in NXT for his tag teams. Now the first version, remember, didn't have side plates, but when they
Right.
upgraded to the next one, they had side plates. NXT UK
Okay.
had
Yeah,
side
that is
plates.
true. Yeah, you're
So
right.
this is the first time we're seeing side plates on WWE
Good catch,
tag
belt
team
guy.
titles. Yeah, so I was like, and when the Miz said it, I said, yeah, that was the first thing I saw. I said, ooh, they're gonna have side plates. Because think about the legacy of like the Usos.
Hmm.
They had to make a strap that said Usos. Let's think about the New Day. You can get a Big E and you can get a Kofi side plate, but you can't get a Xavier Woods.
Right.
Or unless you got the New Day signature series. If you
Right.
wanted to get the bar, if you wanted to get your tag team that you liked, the Revival, even
Hmm.
Viking Raiders, they didn't have one unless it was in NXT and they happened to get side placed on NXT. So it was crazy to me because I was like, oh, they're about to make more money. This just makes more sense.
Yeah.
So that was the first thing that jumped out at me. And I said it, oh, look, the side is modeled after the World Heavyweight title. It's
Hmm.
actually a slight modification to it because it actually is nickel plated on the bottom and then it has the floor pattern on above. So the base of it is nickel plate or like a reflective surface. I don't know
Hmm.
for sure it's nickel, but just looking at it, these are some of the terms when you're looking at belts, that's what you say. And it got me because I couldn't believe that they had sidebars. But not only sidebars, they had stones on the sidebars. I'm gonna keep going. Because if you look at one of Triple H's most beautiful belts that he had,
Yes,
gem that we forgot about, look
that
what
is
he put on
exactly
there.
what
A
that's exactly
sidebar
what it
with some
reminded me of.
gems.
Yeah,
And he
that's
played with the
exactly.
colors on this too. He said, oh, I'm gonna give you some razzle dazzle. And he
I'm trying to survive the comments. I apologize. It's,
yeah, but you talk, that's what he's referring to. But there's a design. If you notice when the
want to
WWE
say it.
belts down, I'm
Yes.
not. When the WWE belts down, they actually have stuff on
on the
the
on
tip
the
of
what?
on the tip. Um, this is a basic one, but on the United States, the Intercontinental, even the World title, they're putting these designs even on the MLB belts.
Oh,
They
no
have
diddy.
different designs on the. I hate everything about y'all. Back to the
Oh
belt.
boy, brother, you
Let's talk
started
about
this,
this. Yes, they hit it. There it go. And he's not even on camera for this. And then, oh dang! But you know what? Y'all keep on.
bro. My
All I'm gonna
face is
say is
killing me
just
right
let
now,
the.
bro. I'm trying
But the
to.
fact that Dennis said this was the
That's what I
hilarious part to
said.
me.
Like, yo, that's what I just noticed. no, no diddy. Wow.
And look, and then of course, Christina, who is one of my coworkers, she said only I would notice that because she swear I only notice certain things.
That is
Um,
true, Christina. Only he would notice that.
all right, back. Can we get back on track now? I can't wait for the notes tomorrow.
Oh boy, I'm gonna have notes, plenty
These
of them.
are clean. These belts are clean, and with being three plates, I love the design and the detail on the strap too. The detail on the
Yeah,
strap
that is
kind of
true.
reminds you of the World
You keep
Heavyweight
leaning back like
title.
you have it there somewhere though. Like you keep like
No,
I'm expecting to
no,
up not.
I, no,
Oh,
I'm
okay. I'm
grabbing his
just
belts.
now. I'm
He
nervous
brought,
because you keep leaning. I think he's got something there. Usually,
I'll,
pre-order, fast
I'll
shipping
tell you.
overnight. No, you wouldn't tell me. That's not true.
I,
It's not true.
Dwayne, of all people, I wouldn't tell you.
No, you wouldn't. You guys, you got the whole angle on or something. Like, what are you saying?
Yeah, because that was something for you.
Okay, that's
Ladies and
fair enough.
gentlemen,
Okay.
we had something for Dwayne, and I had to a live omission, but I had to tell him a story to get him to be there to be part of the story, but it was actually on him. And I didn't say anything to him. It was actually pretty funny. You should go check out which episode was that in Championship Culture
I
of
was gonna say, was
season
that
two?
season like what, season 1 or 2? That's
That
not
was
what
season
that's first
two.
episode. First
Yeah, I
episode,
think it
right?
was yep, of season two of Championship
Yeah.
Culture. That's
There
all I'm
you
gonna
go.
say. If you want to see Dwayne get got in the double turn, please go
The
back to the
double turn of the
playlist of
century.
Championship.
Go back and
But
watch that episode, and you will
yes.
see how the wheel turns. You think Bray Wyatt is nuts? The championship culture guys, they own some stuff, and I blame, God rest his beautiful soul, Bray Wyatt, and that whole rabbit hole we went down before that gave these guys inspiration in the
To
double
go
turn
down
of
the
the
rainbow.
century. Championship
Yeah, we
culture,
done.
season 2, episode 1.
Dang, he got over it. Now you got Dennis feet into it. I do not have that belt, guys. It just now I would have had the North American women's title if they would have had it at the show. Because you know the North American title is one of my favorite titles. But
Question: did that go up for
yes,
pre-order when they announced it? That's not up. Okay, so they
the
probably
North
when they actually
American,
debut it.
yeah, probably when they actually say, "Hey, here's the tournament," they're gonna have it sitting on
Right.
the pedestal. That's probably when it'll go out. But you notice the pre-orders for the tag belt says August when they ship,
Yeah. Yeah.
which means probably next month people will start getting them and be posting them. But let me
Mhm.
ask you this: if we
Yes.
go back to this picture of this belt
Mhm.
on the center plate,
Yes.
there are clear stones everywhere.
Mhm.
But somebody said, "Oh man, look at that lion. He got some thick thighs on that lion." I was like, "That's definitely a griffin. If you don't see the wings,
It's
that is
definitely a griffin.
definitely a griffin." Um, and the two griffins are a nice touch because you know traditionally they will put lions on stuff, and I think a lion is in the McMahon crest, so
Sure.
a griffin is just like the natural progression of a I don't want to say two things merged together, but that's what the tag team should be about.
Mhm.
I love the fact that Triple H is going with these cleaner logos and it
Yes,
just being one silver color,
I
and his
agree.
glow behind it makes it so it's part of the world and nobody feels left out. Nobody feels like, oh, they only showing North America. Oh, they only showing this.
Mhm.
Because remember, on the Big Eagle, Wing Eagle, and on the IC, you could
Yep.
clearly see which
Right.
part of the world they were
Mhm.
representing. Now, Triple H is, you can see that all of his quote unquote belts from the 205 Live Cruiserweight to the, what's the other one he did there? His NXT belts, his tag team, his world. He kind of just leaves that up for interpretation.
There you
But
go.
importantly,
Mhm.
behind that, that's a shield
Yes, it is.
behind it. And that shield, I kept saying to myself, where have I seen that shield?
Mhm.
Now I'm gonna ask you to see if you know where have you seen that shield from?
The Shotgun Saturday Night logo.
Is that it?
That's all I got. That's on the top of my head.
Is it really?
Looks like a police badge. I don't know that, but that's
It
the
does
only
look
shit I
like
can
a
think of.
police bag. Okay.
That's the
Well,
only
I'm gonna
shit I
see if
can
the
think of.
comments. I wonder if anybody in the comments know what that shield because I kept looking right,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna say I want to say one word.
So what are you
I'm gonna say
speculating?
something for you.
Mhm.
That's the same shield that's on the Smoker Skull belt.
Is it?
Look at the side plates of the Smoker Skull belt. That shield resembles
Oh,
that
it
so
does
much.
look like.
All I
Yes, it
kept thinking was
does.
like, why does that look like the Smoker Skull side plate? I don't want to say I'm reading into it because you know we go down rabbit holes. I'm just thinking that Triple H saw a lot of things that were good on belts, and this is another way to make the belt stand out. That it's the shield on top of the globe on, and then the WWE logo on top of it. Because even how he wrote World Tag Team and Champions, it's
Mhm.
not a traditional banner. It's in silver, and the red is a little deeper than. Not to say for my take that I wouldn't like because it might be the way the camera's hitting it. We
Mhm.
might get it. It might look just like the NXT UK Championship. How it looked darker in person. I mean on TV, but then in
Mhm.
person, like, oh, it actually is red
Right.
or like the swooshes under the red for the Universal and the women's titles. It all looked like on TV it was darker red. You got them up, and it was like boom, it's actually nice.
Right.
Um, so Prototype says it's going to be an expensive summer with all these new belts dropping.
You heard that,
I
Belt King?
agree. I agree.
Got to put in
Um,
some overtime, buddy.
and then Marcus says like how the belts on Raw now have the same round look to them. They feel like they all
Yes.
belong on that show, and all of them, kind of like how TNA did with their
They
belts,
belong
all of
together.
them felt like a big deal.
Yeah.
This makes it feels like all of these belts are a big deal now. Um,
Mhm.
so I'm going to look up the Shotgun Saturday Night logo because that's not the first thing I thought about. I thought about the Smoking Skull. Um, but realness
Yes, sir.
for this belt,
Mhm. Oh, look at that
I
beauty.
got look. See, look at the side plates. Of course,
No, yeah, it looks it's definitely like it's got to be something to that shape and that silhouette for some reason. You know what I mean?
yeah, that's what I'm like. I don't know if Triple H just took because, like, side note, when I go to make custom belts and when people ask me to help them make their custom belt, I
Mhm.
try to get elements that they like and try to put them on there. You know what I mean? Like to
Right.
me, the
Yeah.
floor pattern on the base, of course, is still remnants of the big gold, that
Right.
prestigious belt, because it's always big gold versus the world. Tune in
Right.
on 430 2024 for that argument on championship culture.
Oh boy.
Um, so realness, it's time for me to ask.
Okay, here we go. I'm ready. Here we go.
You ready?
Yes, sir.
Every
It's the
belt has
part
a
of the show
story,
I'm waiting for. Everybody has a story.
and I'm gonna tie with this.
Mhm.
Talk to
Oh,
the people.
jeez.
Which one you want to
Oh
start with?
gosh.
Let's start with this one because I thought
I have
you would
bad
have
memories.
liked.
I have bad
I
memories.
thought now, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm showing up is the former WWE Tag Team Championship that was held on
No.
SmackDown. Right?
Mhm.
It reminds you of the Attitude Era tag
Mhm.
belts. It just
Mhm.
had a modern feel, kind of what is signed by Kurt Angle, kind of what I feel like the world title had become. No classic. I mean, the current World Heavyweight Championship. It was a homage to previous tag team belts,
Mhm.
but for some reason, realness.
Yes,
Tell the
sir.
people how you feel about this belt.
I absolutely hate these championships. I hate the Basham brothers who I don't know why I associate them. I don't know if they even won these championships, but I associate um the Basham brothers and Shaniqua with these championships for whatever reason. Now you have to understand something. I don't know. 15, 20 years ago, realness was not a fan of change. I didn't like change at all. I wanted everything to stay the same or do better. And I was like, no, just give me the original tag team championship. That's the Attitude Era championship was one of my favorites, and the previous titles before that was my absolute favorites. So when I saw that with all this extra blue on it, I said, what is this? It's not the same. I don't like it.
But
Also,
did
don't
you have the
awkward.
same feeling about this?
Let me tell you why I hate these belts. I was watching WWE one day, and it was the day it turned over to WWE, and I didn't know what the heck was going on. And I think Lance Cade and Trevor Murdoch was about to debut or something, and they kept saying the new WWE champ tag team world tag team champs. And I'm like, wait, what is this WWE and WWA? Like, they're not saying WWF all of a sudden? And I was pissed off. I didn't know what was going on. I hadn't read the WWF magazine or anything, but I'm like, what is this? All of a sudden, they showed this commercial about get the F out, and I was like, what are these tag teams right here? What is this? And I said, these are the world heavyweight. I hated Eric Bischoff. I hate everybody associated with these championships.
I just want to
And
hear you the back.
and I just never liked these belts at all. Like ever, 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 ever. Like I said, I remember Lance Cade and Trevor Murdoch winning these championships, and I was just like, bro, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? And it's just like that. It was around a time where I was fake not liking wrestling. Like I was like, oh, this is dumb, but I would know everything that was going on the show because my brother was watching. I would come past and I would be like, I'm not watching this, and sit there for about an hour and a half. And as soon as something made me mad, I'm like, I'm not watching. This is dumb. The entire time I ended up watching the whole show. And both these championships got caught up in their era for me. So I don't have good memories with these championships. I remember even when the Colognes won the championships, Carlito and Primo, and they had them, kind of draped around. They were kind of the undisputed. And I was like, I can't wait till they get rid of these belts. And then we got the pennies. It just went all
Right.
downhill. It just went all downhill. So, we're talking about a decade plus of issues with these tag team championships. And I have no good memories attached to none of them. So it's like, if I had to choose one, I would definitely take the World Heavyweight Tag Team Champions versus the WWE Tag Team Champions at the
So you would
time. But
take this
I would,
over the other one. Okay.
I have no good memories of them. And it's like I have no beef with the belt. It's just nothing about them. You go, oh, I need that. I'm just like, nah, I'm good. Now, do you have, are those official WWE replicas, or you those are
No,
custom?
these are they were made aftermarket. That's why I was
Okay,
showing you the back.
because I
It
noticed the
doesn't
red
have.
back, and I was like,
Yeah.
yeah. So I don't have good memories of them. If somebody would have given me one, sure I would have taken it, but I wouldn't have worn it proudly. I just would have put it on the shelf with the rest of them. So
But
we
all right,
we don't disrespect belts around here, but I don't have to
no,
rock
not
it
at
either.
all. It obviously you don't have to like it. You just have
Yeah,
to have it.
yeah,
So when you because you talked about tag teams a lot, right?
yes.
What belt? And I know it's the Attitude Era
Hmm.
has the most significance to the realness. But why is it that it has that much significance to you?
Now, what in terms of the tag team championships?
Yeah, I know it's the Attitude Era.
Well, it's not quite the Attitude Era. It's
It's
technically
not
it's the tag team. It's the titles right before the Attitude Era. Like it's the New Gen era. So we're talking two dudes with
okay.
attitudes. We're talking Owen Hart and Yokozuna.
Okay,
You
the
know what I
more
mean?
dual
So
plated, the silver ones, more
no, but see, by the time
silver
they
than
were
the gold.
silver, by the time we got them, they were just pure gold. Like if
Okay.
you look at when the New Age Outlaws first won those championships, they had those that particular silhouette of titles. It was all gold. And like maybe not too long after they had won it, that's when we got the new versions of it. You know what I mean? Which had a more, no pun intended, a more attitude to the championship. And then of course we got a scratch logo to go attached to it. But like if you look at any look at any photo of Shawn Michaels and Diesel taking photos together during that era, I was like, I love these championship belts. That silhouette is just my all-time favorite tag team championship belt. Um, I fell in love with MCW, Maryland Championship Wrestling, or now what is considered MCW Pro Wrestling. But at the time, Maryland Championship Wrestling's tag team champions were in the same silhouette. They were silver, and I was like, "Yo, that championship is," because that was the era of my childhood. I came up in the new gen era. Like my brother's a couple years older than me, so he was at the back end of Hogan's 80s run, and we were kind of coming up in the early 90s to mid 90s, but like the mid 90s is when we were like kind of waking up to it and really be kind of know what's going on. So that era tag team championships was and don't get me wrong, the attitude era is up there. Like to me, they're the same thing to me, because to me they're the evolution of each other. Like one morphed into the other, so like they're the same to me. But yeah, if I had to choose one, it would definitely be that that the new gen WWF World Tag Team Championships. I think that was the most unique belt we have seen out of everything else, right? Like everything else was kind of we see the silhouettes and the shapes of belts, but that was probably, so I don't think we've seen anything close to it as far as tag team champions. We've seen it with like women's championships and stuff like that and other promotions, but to have that shape of it was always unique and it was always clean to me. So yeah, that's my favorite tag team championship of all time.
You know, it had the eagle and the globe on it, so I was a fan because anything with the eagle and globe it was
I mean,
perfect
it's
to
just
me.
classic. It's just classic
Mm.
belt, like belt culture. No pun intended. Or do I intend it?
Ooh, okay. And I'm gonna ask this follow up question of you. Are you ready?
I
I'm
am
gonna ask
ready.
this question at 48 minutes and 10 seconds.
Yes.
Dwayne Richard Allen,
There we go. Third name already. That's
who is your top five favorite tag teams in no particular order?
okay. This is the easy one. Okay, you ready? No
Uh
particular
huh.
order, right?
No particular order.
Ready? New Age Outlaws.
Hmm.
Ready? Got it. The Outsiders, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall. You got it. The Good Brothers, Doc Gallows, Carl Ellison. You got it. Um, the Dudleys, Team 3D. You got it. And the Hardy Boys. See how fast that
Wow.
was? That was easy.
Wow.
Now, I have some honorable mentions. You know what I mean? But
Give me
it's
five honorable mentions because I know it's that would be a top 10 list. But let me see your
okay.
five honorable
Um,
mentions.
five honorable mentions. Uh, the Briscoes. Um, Mark and Jay, Briscoe. The Young Bucks. Um, Legion of Doom. Mid or early, anything they did. Road Wars, Legion, anything in that mid '90s era.
The dominant run.
Yeah, absolutely. And excuse me, I call them War Machine, even though they're known that now as the Viking Raiders. But I fell in love with War Machine on the Independence. And um my last honorable mention is I want to say, um, hold on, I have a list. It's
Oh,
crazy. Hold on. So if this is my last honorable mention goes to, because I have to choose one, right? So it's like, um, hold on, I'm almost there because I literally have list, a whole list of tag teams, and it is my last honorable mention goes to
there it is.
um, which the crazy part is, it's really like I'll give it to Edge and Christian. I'll give it to Edge and
Okay.
Christian because
I
it was
was
a
hoping he was
toss.
gonna make your list.
Well, see, it was a toss up between guys like Brian Myers and Matt Cardona, um, and guys like Cactus Jack and Terry Funk. I have no idea why I was obsessed with Cactus Jack and Terry Funk in the mid-90s. But yeah,
They
so
were
that was
entertaining.
yeah, so like I just read off like 11 tag teams. But yeah, those were like my number. Um the Usos is on that list too, you know what I mean? In all fairness, you know what I mean? And it's you know, like you always fans of the Usos, you know what I mean? But it's like I'm not always going back to watch old Usos matches versus these guys. I'm going back to watch Outsiders matches. I'm going back to watch the Good Brothers and TNA. You know what I mean? But so
You're
yeah,
gonna go back. You're gonna go back a little further in history, not recent history. You want to go
yeah,
back
yeah,
a
yeah,
little bit
yeah. You
further.
know what I mean? Like you know, it's like we were fans. We were fans of how like the Usos were booked because they weren't really special. They would come out, they would do their spot, they would have their match, and they would go. There was no depth to who they were, and you were fans of that. But it was like, oh, well, you know, their feud with the New Day obviously was a big deal. You know what I mean? But it's like,
Mm.
hey,
We
The
didn't
New Day is
realize
another
how big
thing.
it was until they stopped feuding, and we're
Yeah,
like,
you know,
"Oh, dang, that was a big deal." But I got a question for Marcus. He said, "Those are the best looking tag belts." He's talking about the Ruthless Aggression era, and Prototype said the Ruthless Aggression era belts have always been my favorites because he even said it. I don't know if you saw this. When he started
no,
showing, he said, "My babies." I just want to make sure.
no,
I
no.
just want to make sure you did that.
Oh my gosh, the Ruthless Aggression era tag team titles. No, sir.
and um, Dennis said, in reference to the comment about this going to be a horrible summer for belts, he said, "Man, got to get a few belts. I got to get. Wifey going to be mad at me."
Oh yeah, she's gonna be
Oh,
good and hot.
buddy.
Packages gonna be coming to the mail, and they're gonna be heavy.
So the round look,
Mhm.
I forgot one thing about this belt.
Yes.
I just want to put the belt back on screen one more time because I've seen people as soon like, all right, you know my biggest gripe when a belt debuts,
Mhm.
everybody wants to
Look at that
Photoshop and
sexy
change
graphic.
it and say, what's what, right? The round shape didn't bother me
Mhm.
because it let me see that it's a dual plated and it has that nickel plating on the base of it. I've seen people where they said, it looks like a pizza. I don't see that. I'm like, just because it's a circle. I mean, we said it was a nickel and dime because it was silver and it was
Yeah.
round, not because it was round. It was because it was silver. If it had been black, we would have just been like, "Oh, it's a belt." But because it was silver and on TV, it looked like it was a dime. And I love the fact, and I'm gonna agree with Marcus how the belts have the same type of feel because he said they all have that same round look to them,
Yeah.
which I think is cool. I
Mhm.
think that's actually a cool thing that they're doing to distinguish. Only problem is if only one of the champions get drafted, as in the tag team champions go, and the men's and women stay. It's going to be kind of awkward because it's going to be
Sure.
like, oh, that's a belt. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like the
Yeah.
IC on Raw makes sense because it's in that. Oh, I'm sorry, in that oval shape. Which I'm gonna ask this question, and this is
Mhm.
probably the last topic we go and dive in, right?
Okay.
So we talked about, last show was new belts, new eras, new champs, all that good stuff, right? We're
That's
clearly in a
correct.
new era.
Mhm.
In this new era, there's been some belts that kind of got left through a different era, and
Mhm.
they're still lasting in it. And I'm talking about one of the belts is right here, and her bigger brother, the other tag team championships
Mhm.
for NXT. They still look like the black and gold era. We done went black and gold 2.0, now black, white, and gold, and they have not gotten the facelift.
Mhm.
Do you think the dust is going to hit them soon?
I think it's almost inevitable, and I felt like that was going to happen when they debuted. When they didn't go back to the original title when they changed when it was the Crayola era 2.0. They kind of redid the NXT title with the crayon color or the splatter paint on the back. It made it look like it was about to be Saturday morning wrestling. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, okay, well, Triple H they kind of got the reins back, and Shawn Michaels was like, okay, we're gonna mix the old with the new, and it'll be kind of, as you call it, the black, gold, and white era, or the black, white, and gold era, whatever, however you want to mix it. But I noticed they didn't change the championship; they kind of left it alone. And I'm like, okay, cool. Of course, and even that championship, whether you like it or not, it has its own lineage now. That championship kind of marks the symbol of when they pretty much said Braun Breaker, Melo Hayes, we gotta hit the reset button. We're gonna build around you guys and young talent and kind of start from scratch the way we're doing it. And so when you think about that era, that's why Tommaso Ciampa and Samoa Joe and those guys had to go. So it's like even Walter, he debuted as Gunta. Like they didn't fit into that era. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I think they left it that way for reasons because they're like, well, listen, we might as well just leave it alone because eventually we're going to end up probably hitting the reset button even more. You know what I mean? Like there's to your point, there's none of the NXT championships that encompasses like the new feel of NXT. Like the only thing that we saw with the world title was just the paint splatter on the original NXT championship that we previously had, but there's nothing with a new NXT logo or anything that incorporates this new era under Shawn Michaels.
Well, brother Wilderness, I'm gonna tell you, go back and look at the men's and women. They changed the
Mhm.
logo. The T and the X actually have that point on it. So
Oh,
they
okay.
added the
See,
color
that I wasn't
splatter.
even paying attention to it that much.
Yeah. The N and the
So,
T, they have that point. You know how the N was pointing
yeah.
down and the T was pointing over. They have that on would be in front of the actual thing. So even though it looks like NXT, it has
Mhm.
that logo. But they retired this one.
Yes.
We still have the tag, which still looks good,
Mhm.
arguably, it still looks good. But we we still have that because with the North American, you
Mhm.
really don't see the NXT logo. That's real small. They could change that like they did the UK title. How they just put NXT on there, they could just change the
Yeah.
logo to
Mhm.
that if they need to. But the reason I'm asking that with this resurgent, and then even with Axiom and Nathan Frazier ushering a new era because Braun Breaker has now been officially called up. Baron Corbin got to figure out something else next. Just a good time to debut the new belts, especially because we got the women's North American title coming, which I think is a good thing because we didn't opt for tag team. We said no, we want a secondary title.
Yeah,
Is
I
this a
think
good
so.
time for it?
Yeah, because I think we're getting a clean sweep, and we
Okay.
and if you do it that way, you don't need a reason to do it now because it's like we're on. They've been sometimes new eras have been unspoken, and then sometimes they haven't. Right? Like technically, Vince McMahon he announced the Attitude Era. The old school '90s, ladies and gentlemen, we're tired of giving you the passe. Good guy versus bad guy. Like he made an announcement that things were going to change, but then
Mhm.
nobody really knew like what was really about to come until like Mike Tyson showed up and everybody's like, wait a minute, this dude just got banned from boxing for chewing a guy's ear off, and now he's in wrestling. It's about to go insane. So they've announced like, yo, this is a new era. So it's like, okay, well, cool. Well, we don't have to explain why we have new belts because like, I'm mad. Think about it. We talked about it a few weeks ago. I believe on was the last week's show we talked about was last show the IC title show
No, 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago the IC title show, and it was like, well, when they kind of random when they debuted it, and it was like, yeah, it kind of was like Sammy just like, oh, this belt isn't fitting for you, and then Sammy debuts, and it's like you had to kind of explain it, and it didn't make sense, and then we were all kind of taken back by it. Versus now, Triple H has made it clear, hey, this is a new era. New champions need new belts. And I'm like, he said it. And I was like, oh, okay. So guess what? I don't see why we don't continue that wave in NXT. And I think we should get a clean sweep of all the championships or, all the recent ones.
Hmm.
I personally would like a new United States championship, but that's just me.
More
Yep.
color or the whole different belt?
You can do more color. I prefer a different belt, but,
Wow, that sounds like an upcoming show.
add some blue. Add some blue.
That sounds like a United States show coming up soon, huh?
Oh, say, can you
But
see?
I would be amiss if I didn't make sure that you saw this comment from your good old brother
Thank you,
Dennis.
Dennis. Dennis has always been a good brother. Thank you, Dennis. Thank
And
you.
apparently he's got bitten by the hue and his shenanigans. He said, "Wow, a
Yes.
pizza," and then of course, prototype had to follow up. Said, "What kind of pizza they be eating?" That's what I thought when I saw it. Um,
I didn't see pizza, but
I didn't like, and then even somebody took it and said, "Oh, let's make the belt brown." I'm like, "Let's not."
No.
Like it was like
He
just
said,
let it
let's
be.
not.
Like as soon as
It's
like the United States title came, oh, this will fix the this will make this belt look more prestigious. Like somebody else took the logo and said, "Oh, let's do it this way." I'm like, just people what didn't like Roman's belt when it debuted and with the gold backing. Now look at it. We were at WrestleMania. Every time you turn around, you saw
I
that
know.
belt.
Same
I
thing.
didn't see. I maybe so I could count on my hand how many Universal titles I saw. I
Mhm,
think I saw like one blue one and like two or three red ones. WWE Championships, the all black one.
mhm.
I don't remember seeing. I mean, he might have to check me. I remember seeing maybe 10 of them, but I know
Wow.
every time I turned around, I saw the World Heavyweight title and Roman's belt. They were
Yeah. And Roman's belt.
everywhere. Yeah, because you know exactly which one I'm talking about.
Yeah,
It
it's
it
immediately.
was just so many. It was like every time you turn, I'm like, oh wow,
Yeah.
they really are out here. And you saw a couple like other random belts here and there, but
What do you consider a random belt here and there? Because I want to know from the Belt King's perspective. What do you consider a
so
random
like
belt?
so a random belt to me would be one that isn't in circulation in the current
Okay.
status, like the
Like a
white
Divas
IC
championship.
strap.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
sure. Got it.
yeah,
Yeah.
like and then like the United States title. I think I saw one. I said,
Mhm.
"Oh, that's different." Like when we went to NXT Stand and Deliver, I carried my classic, the first version of the NXT one because I said this will stand out. I don't want to always have the belt that somebody else has.
Right.
Um, so that was my whole thing. I was like, let me do
It's a very
something
Belt thing to
different
say,
because
by the way. I don't have the same belt as everybody else when I step out
uh,
to the streets. But I get it. I do.
so um, these comments. Of course, I remember your rant. Dennis hated that belt when it debuted, the Roman's belt.
Really?
Yes, he went on a rant that it was like a thing. I wish I would have recorded. It would have made Drew Willingham proud because he definitely cut a
Oh,
promo. But it
that's
felt
how I know
like
it was good.
look, it felt like I wanted to be old school holding the mic, giving him the stage from the stand in front of the camera. Uh, welcome to the show, Cliff. He says, like to see what those SmackDown tag titles would look like.
Uh, yeah.
I kind of feel like I need to be sitting at home on Friday. So when they debut these belts, or maybe Triple H is gonna make us wait till next week because he might want to pop a raid this week and make us
No.
wait till next week. He's got to give us these new belts.
He's
I'm gonna be
going
sitting there
to.
like this. Come on, give me the belts. Give me the belts.
That's how
Give me
we
the
were on
belts.
Monday. We were like, "Where is Brandon?" You're like, "What did I miss?" We're like, "No."
Oh, wait a minute. Cliff might have said something that's going to get realness attention. Oh, Dwayne Robert Allen.
Mm.
Did you see this? Bring
I'm
back the
looking at it now.
Cruiserweight
Bring
title
back
on Raw and
and
a
bring back the
European for
European title
SmackDown.
for SmackDown. I'm not against it, but I don't think it's necessary. But trust me, that European Championship, man.
Ooh.
And I'm gonna tell you why you gotta be fuzzy about that European titles because they're about to do like NXT Europe. You know what I mean? So it's
Remember my
like,
discussion with that? That should
yeah,
be that
you
world title.
and that's what I was thinking. Like, you don't want to think about it because if you're we saw the NXT Champion show up on Raw. You know what I mean? And he's recognized as the NXT champion, so it's almost like a traveling title. So
And that's
yeah,
what I would
yeah,
like for the Cruiserweight. If the
yeah,
Cruiserweight comes back, let it travel between all the shows. And I'm going to even give you a different thing. Who
mhm.
said it got to be a men's Cruiserweight?
Yeah, that is
It could
true.
have been
I
a
mean, this
secondary title for the women, but they got the North American now, which I hope that they do a lot of things to give that belt some exposure because when Fallon Henley gets it, if it's
mhm.
not her or Chelsea Green, they gonna have to put it on somebody that everybody's gonna be able to see this belt.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. The new they still have another championship to debut in Tony Khan style in the NXT or WWE Speed Championship. I think they were talking about. And I was like, man, if to me that was a good place to put the cruiserweight championships. But
Thank
I
you. That's
think,
what but they got
I think,
everybody in speed.
I think they want to give her like a very X division feel to it, where it's like there's no definition to this championship. You know what I mean? Because that's
But
what the
see,
X
and
division was originally for.
I didn't like the concept, but after watching the matches, I'm like, this actually does work. Three
It's all
minutes
for
is a
social media.
yeah, it's a good time for
Tell a
a
story.
match.
Yeah,
Yeah, for you to sit there and say, "Oh, let me watch this match." Now each of them start off like they didn't go, like they all just like we got to go fast. I'm like, so is this how every match is going to start? Um,
Cedric
so it's
Alexander and Ricochet gonna have something to do every week.
listen, he gonna be defending that title left and right.
And Dragon Lee.
Well, Dragon Lee lost in the first round, didn't he? I think he
Oh
lost in
shoot,
the
he
first
did.
round. I think, but I think. let's just look at that belt again. I just want to in closing just ask everybody: was this a good belt? When you see this belt, was this a good belt? Because man, we got
Yeah,
sidebars, we got side plates, we got dual plated, we got jewels, we got gems, we
lots of
got
gems.
color,
Hmm.
we got a globe, we got a griffin, which is a half eagle and half lion, right? We
Hmm.
got two griffins. Yeah, they do look strong. But we got two griffins. But man, the way that our truth, if you ever seen what they did, they had a video to the music was playing for Gundam style, and I couldn't stop laughing. I was like, this is perfect. And it was just on social media, like, and like you said, the tip. The tip is insane. That's all I'm gonna say about that. Um, the design on the strap definitely gonna be hard to be duplicated.
Yeah,
Um,
that's gonna be a doozy.
Dennis definitely said he loves the belt and is love it, man. It's a great belt. As Frodo said, he said, me and my god brother already putting on plotting on these belts. I'm telling you, if y'all show up to SummerSlam with the belts, I'm definitely getting the picture with y'all. Because you owe me a picture. You owe me and you a picture, sir. Don't forget the next time you somewhere and we there, we're gonna find you. We're gonna take a picture with the championship culture boys. But
I think at the end of the day, it goes back to what you said, Brandon. You've always talked about this when I say if you're the even if you're the tag team champions, that belt should look like you're the world champion of tag teams, and that's the vibe that I get when I see these belts. Like when I see this, like you said, we always talk about what makes a good tag team championship belt, like a good world tag team championship belt. Is if I'm walking out by myself, I'm a world champion of something, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a tag team, and that's how those belts look. Like if you walk around by yourself, that looks like a world title or a secondary title.
if you just got it on your shoulder, you're like, oh, he's a big deal.
Yeah.
And that's why when Nick Ram said he didn't like 6-man belts, I
Hmm.
kind of felt his pain. I said, dang, he actually made a good point. But then, like, I'll look at the never open one and be like, but how do you not like that one? But to
You
his
know,
point,
those were the exceptions.
yeah, but I mean, to his point, that's why I felt
Mhm.
like, I can't where he's coming from. He's like, I just don't like 6-man belts.
Yeah,
And
and
he
and
was
and
adamant
I
about it.
agree with him.
And yeah, he gave when I say a valid reason, I was like, can't argue with that. He made a point.
Yeah.
Um, so we shall see what we might be another short posted on Friday. It might even be a live reaction. Who knows? Let's see where I'll be sitting
Oh
in on
boy.
Friday. Um, especially when you have what did he say? Dennis said, especially when you have two trios titles. Oh,
Yeah,
we're gonna get them started on AEW.
that's a little awkward.
It's okay.
Oh,
And
the fans about to go in the chat.
yeah, and he just upgraded this. Let me stop because it's
They
six
look
man
good
belt.
though. The upgraded Ring of
Yeah,
Honor.
but he
I said
snuck him in. He
he
snuck him in the week before Mania.
they have done a good job designing the belts for Ring of Honor. I'll give them that.
Yes, but I hate that he just snuck it in like, oh, go to the
It
ring with these.
casually just handed them out like, oh, so you're not going to make an announcement next week?
Because at least
We
with
have a new
Small Joe,
announcement.
he said, "Oh, I got a new belt for you," and Small Joe was like, "Here, thanks," and just walked away. Um,
Very small Joe fashion. Yes.
okay, he said he might be a Raw in August, would do SummerSlam, but save it for WrestleMania next year. The Big Ten for me straight. Oh,
Oh
this will be his
snap!
10th WrestleMania. So you know what?
Straight.
You go ahead and save that money for Mania because the way that whoo, yep, you save that money for Mania. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm gonna just say I agree with you. If you go to Raw in August, yep, we might be a Raw SmackDown with you. So last thing we gotta talk about is
Hmm.
those championship culture boys anniversary is next week.
Hmm.
And as you always hear me say, every belt has a story. Can't wait to hear yours. We are doing a big gold giveaway. And all you gotta do is send us a 2 minute or less video, basically talking about your belt and the story behind it. I can't wait to show some of these submissions that we've been getting because it will air next week on the show or part of the big gold giveaway. Yeah, depending on how many we have, we might have to do it in two parts. Um, but if you submit something to championship culture 2023 at gmail.com, you will get one entry. If you subscribe to the YouTube channel by going to youtube.com/the wrestling room and subscribe to the wrestling room channel, that'll give you another entry. And then the last way you can get an entry, just follow us at championship culture underscore. That way you get 3 chances to win. Trust me, the more chances you have, the better it'll be for you to win that big gold because on April 30th, we're going to talk about a special show. Big Gold versus the World.
Oh boy.
Already confirmed. Dwayne. Dwayne
He's coming up
Donnell
with a different
Allen.
name.
Du-
I was waiting for the name. That's like the fourth middle name
Dwayne
I got
Donnell
today.
Allen. I believe Dennis King. You're still confirmed, right, brother?
Oh
Because we
boy.
got to hear his Big Gold versus the World. We're going to make sure that Marcus from Four Sides of the Ring, he said he's down. Um, and I'm missing somebody. He will probably tell me who I'm missing so far. So far we have 3 confirmations for Big Gold versus the World, and this is going to be a super mega show
It's gonna be
that
insane.
we just go have it all up because remember I posed some questions in that WCW show to the realness, and
Mm-hmm.
he wasn't ready, and
No,
it made him
that
think.
was the time and the place.
He even said it the next night on the flagship show about how unfair that was. So guess what? That has become its own show. Big Go versus the World. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. If you want to be part of it, shoot us an email to championshipculture2023@gmail. We have no problem with adding you into the guest list because right now we have the realness. I'm sorry, Dwayne Alonzo Allen.
Wow, you're just digging
See what
deep
I did there?
today.
Yeah, see what I did there? He's going to be there with uh, one of the hosts from Four Sides of the Ring, Marcus. Ooh, that's going to be great because we got some payback for him. And
Uh-oh.
Dennis. I don't know, playwright extraordinaire, actor, lesbian. He does it all. Artist, model. If you go to his Facebook page, you're gonna think this man does everything. I don't know what he does for a living, but I know he's always
Support his GoFundMe campaign also on his X account.
yeah. So please visit if you follow the Wrestling Realm. It was posted there. The realness retweeted it. I retweeted it. If you drop it in the comments so people can see it, so you when they go back and watch the viewership, put the link in there so everybody know to support the arts. Myself and Dwayne were kids growing up, and I was a band kid. But arts can save people's lives. Arts can
Yes, indeed.
actually help improve some of the other skills that you didn't know you needed to improve on.
Facts.
My memory sucks, and band helped me improve that because when you find something that you love, you realize how to memorize stuff. Hence, most of the time when I play jazz, I kept my eyes closed because I memorize the music. So that's just a little thing. So please drop that in there. Help him get to his goal. I haven't checked it to see where he was to the goal, and I know that he does accept donations directly to him. If you don't want to use that site, and it will go to a good cause. With that being said, realness, what you got for the people?
Ooh, the Wrestling Realm Now podcast live tomorrow, Wednesday, April 19th. Oh boy, brothers. When the last time we went down a rabbit hole, it took us on a whimsical journey. I'm not going back down. I can't do it. But tomorrow we are going to discuss it. We're going to discuss. Last week we talked about what was next for Cody Rhodes. Now we talk about what's next for the Bloodline. We've got a new member. We've got new tag team
Ooh.
championships, and we've got another rabbit hole to unfortunately go down. It's because Uncle is knocking at the door, and he's begging for us to let him in.
Where's Willywood? Ooh, Willywood.
That is the main thing on my radar right now. You do not want to miss it. It's going to be this. First of all, we have the most fun that late on a Wednesday night than anybody that I could imagine. So definitely join us tomorrow on the Wrestling Realm Now podcast. Like I said, live at 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. Oh yeah, you're not going to miss it.
Can we address Hugh's comment because it was out of content? So
What do you say? What do you say, Chimps? What is
he,
it?
he put so, ladies and gentlemen, if you recall last year, AEW went head to head with WWE, and all of these memes started to surface about NXT going up against AEW, and they literally brought every star they possibly could so that NXT to crush the ratings of AEW. So we call that NXT WrestleMania. So anytime there's a super mega show, like we saw WrestleMania this year, we saw WrestleMania Raw edition. So he's calling the 30th championship culture WrestleMania,
Oh boy.
because I believe brother Joe Blackstone may be another person confirmed for that as well. So we're gonna have a lot of perspectives on that day.
Can I
But
get theme
I'm
music
more
for that show? I prefer Shawn Michaels' "Sexy Boy."
absolutely. We will make that happen for you. We'll
Thank you.
we'll even get Dylan to put together a video for you.
Oh gosh, don't get Dylan
Oh, I
started.
can't
Once you
wait for
crack open
Dylan.
that can of worms,
Dylan, you got to the 30th. Give us that. Wouldn't it be nice if Dylan actually was on the show? But he might
I'm
be still
nervous
hurt.
because
He was.
because
Oh,
Dylan
he
might
got
be
hurt.
cooking up graphics and video stuff like on the show. And you be like, bro, how fast are you getting this stuff done?
Soon as you don't see him in the comments, you know he up to something.
Cooking.
So we gonna have realness, Marcus, Dennis, and I'm gonna confirm to make sure Joe Blackson will be there. And if you don't know yet, he better be on screen that day too, because we don't want to just hear about Kane and Dolph Ziggler, because they're not prestigious as much as we're talking about the gold, not the person. We talking about the belt. So I know those are two of his guys that held the belt. I'm surprised they ain't pop in and say something slick. But for those that don't know, tell them where they can find you, realness.
You can find me on X at Dwayne Allen 24. That's DWAYNEALLEN 24. Also at TRDA brand on X as well. And on Instagram. That is my main Instagram page. So it's TRDA. Take respect to Fiversity brand BRAND on Instagram. You can also you can find me on Facebook. I'm not there as often, not as engaging, but I am there. And we, keep in contact with our Wrestling Room family in our groups, group pages, and our group chats on there as well. So yeah, that is you can also find me at TRDA brand on Threads if you're into that. So yeah, I believe that's all the places. Of course, youtube.com/the Wrestling Realm. We post a lot of content there, as in championship culture playlist Tuesday 8 p.m. Everybody has a story. You gotta say it in Hugh Diddy sexy voice. Everybody has a story. Don't forget. Yeah.
You sound like him.
That's how Has the Third does it.
Right. Everybody has a story.
There it is.
There he
I don't do
is.
it justice. It's not the same. I don't do it justice. I tried though. See, just blew it out the water. I'm not doing it anymore now. Just
Wait
I
a
was
minute,
like,
but
nope,
then I
I'm never
looked up
doing it
and
again.
saw Prototype's comment. He said he gonna be seated with a chicken box on the 30th, ready for the
Bruh.
shenanigans.
Listen to me. that show is going to be absolutely insane. You if there's ever a show that you have not seen, if you want to introduce yourself to championship culture, like you've never seen a show, please come to that show. That is going to be insane. Talking about the big go versus the world. You're going to sit there and line up the lineage of the World Heavyweight Championship against every other world title. And we're talking about 60 years of the WWE Championship as well. That is going to be a heavyweight fight from top to bottom. I got to go back and go watch the history of the World Heavyweight Championship DVD. Like I got to find a DVD player somewhere so
But
I
you
can
could be
watch it.
missing like 20 years from that video. You feel like I just got to catch up from that point.
And I'm only going back to get the original stuff. Like we talking George Hackenschmidt. You talking about Ed the Strangler Lewis. Like you cracking open a can of worms. Lou Thez. You kidding me? Gorgeous George. Sheesh. Like
and how about you kept jumping from promotion to promotion because they're like, that's the belt I want. This is going to be my world. Hey, can I use your world champion in my promotion? Okay, he's my champion. But I'm telling you, this is going to be insane. And when I tell you that at the end of that episode, we're going to give away a big gold. I can't wait to see who wins it because I'm rooting for one person because I think they deserve it the most. Because when you see this, everybody has a story video.
Oh wow!
It's gonna. It kind of made me say, "That was yep." Somebody that deserves it.
How do you determine like what's the criteria? What are we looking for?
We're just gonna have a drawing. Okay. I'm probably going to use a belt bag that I have and rope up the names and put them in there and just and just pull it out of the belt bag. I mean, that's the only thing that kind of makes sense. I could, no, I'm going to use a belt bag.
Probably I mean, it's only fitting. It's championship culture. It's the WrestleMania of championship culture. You kidding me? What other bag would you use besides a belt bag?
That is true. That is exactly true.
Hugh, do you want to tell them where they can find you at since you joined in the last 2 seconds?
Oh, no, they know where they can find me at. But I'm going to say it anyway. They can find me at HASTHE3RD. That's on all social media.
we almost got through the whole show.
Or kingofthetips.com.
Oh no.
No,
that's the wrong thing to go on a t-shirt.
No, but the strap daddy. The back strap daddy. The backstrap daddy.
Oh gosh,
He
no,
loves the
didn't.
backing.
The backing though, right?
The backing daddy. Maybach music.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Okay, so I think
Damn,
Oh my god, I'm done. I'm cool.
All right. So with that being said, people, don't forget, tune in every Tuesday to Championship Culture. Next week, we're going to have all the submissions for every belt that has a story. And if we need to do a part 2, and then on the 30th, Big Go versus the world. Ooh, Chavo. So with that being said, just remember, every belt has a story. Can't wait to hit you. Can't wait. We'll try this again.
we're not gonna make it.
Everybody has a story. Can't wait to hear yours.
Bye, Gumps.